Hello and welcome. I'm excited to talk about health anxiety and why it is a blessing that you have it. It's a blessing. Now, your perception over health anxiety is of pain and suffering. Of course, I know because I went through health anxiety. But because I went through health anxiety, I wouldn't be the man I am now. Confident, healthy physically and mentally, and my relationships way better than I could ever imagine, more knowledgeable than I ever thought I would be. So health anxiety turned into an unbelievable blessing. And I'm sure you hear it all the time, those people who go through catastrophes and say, man, it was a blessing, because it does make you stronger. It builds on this thick skin. When you start to navigate yourself out of the suffering, because that's what suffering is, right? It's a signal of your body saying, hey, things aren't right. I need to deal with it. And a lot of people don't deal with the suffering the right way. And so they're masking a lot of emotion. They're masking a lot of trauma. They're masking so much of themselves, and they become so disconnected with who they are. They are missing all of these internal signs and signals. And I see that they're not their own best friend, but they're their own worst enemy. They're attracting negatives continuously. They're attracting the wrong people. They are constantly stepping into potholes, and you don't need to step into the potholes if you're just aware of the actions that you're partaking in daily that are placing you in those potholes, because we have a lot more control over the outcomes than we think we do. And taking on that responsibility is the first step to anxiety recovery. Take on that responsibility that your friends, family, external means, they can only help you to some extent, but you need to go outside of that familiarity. You need to grab onto people that went through the same thing that you're currently going through. And that's why health anxiety was a blessing for me, because it made me realize that, my family, they're only getting me so far. The crutches that I'm using, junk food, Netflix, Dr. Google, my doctor, all the reassurance was only getting me to a certain point. And I had to look inwards and say, these aren't working. And out of desperation and extreme pain, I found a coach who went through this thing called anxiety, which I didn't even know what it was at the time. And they spoke my language. And they got through it and overcame it and got to a way better place. And I used that as a model. So health anxiety forced me to move in that direction, into a different model, to look towards a different ideal and different path of knowledge and structure that I didn't know. So it forces you to learn, forces you to grow, if you decide that for yourself, because you have the control over your day-to-day, right? Well, I sure hope you do. And I hope you gain that control. Health anxiety for sure helped me gain that control. And then once I started to implement the new lifestyle habits, behaviors of this strong person I was looking up to, I started to feel the small wins, the 1% wins. I started to see a change in my physiology. My body was starting to get more relaxed. I started to feel calm. I was slowing down my pace. I was encountering different forms of consciousness through meditation and breathing, and then through diet. And that opened up a different world, a magical world that I never knew existed before when I was suffering. So look at the Dursleys in Harry Potter, right? They're muggles, they're non-magic folk. They're bitter, they're resentful, they're clearly suffering. One's overweight. Well, both Mr. Dursley and Dudley's overweight, grumpy, and Mrs. Dursley just bitter, just wrinkly, angry old lady, and they refuse to acknowledge the magical world, right? That they're just in that conservative bubble of suffering. And it's like when I used to suffer from health anxiety for a long time, I was just in my world, refusing to step outside of that in any way. But once I saw the magical world right under my nose, I was like, wow, there's more to this. Like, I clearly don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, man, I'm so faulty. Man, I just don't know anything. I got to start from square one. And I loved it, to be honest. I loved the fact that I started this new adventure, because adventurers build you into someone you never thought you could be. The strong person you never thought you could be, the confident person you never thought you could be, the stable person, the grounded person. And so that's why health anxiety is a blessing, because it moves you. The signals facilitate the growth if you choose to go down that route. Because think about it, health anxiety sufferers are problem solvers, right? They're very sensitive over their health. Very, very sensitive. And they're trying to solve the problem, but their target is not giving them the results they're looking for. So they get even more anxious. So they're going on Dr. Google a lot, they're going to their doctor, they're leaning on their friends and family, but yet nothing's changing. Those external means are not getting them where they need to go. So they start to get more anxious because they're trying to solve the problem and they're not getting the results they're looking for. And yet, so aim in a different direction, which I started to do. I was like, okay, those aren't working. I'm going to aim over here. And then I found a mentor, and that opened me up to the world of anxiety. What is anxiety? What is health anxiety? What can I do to target these underlying problems, these symptoms, these sensations? Oh, okay, I should start meditating. I should start tackling underlying traumas, emotional baggage that I didn't pay attention to or acknowledge before or resolve before. So anxiety is a blessing, because for me, I was forced to pay attention to the things I was hiding in the dark in my unconscious mind. Throughout the day, my unconscious mind was bringing up certain emotional memories from my past that was disrupted my present moment, disrupted my day-to-day, caused me negative emotion, and that snowballed into more negative emotion, and it was exhausting. So I started to take one traumatic memory from my unconscious mind and pick it apart, examine it, resolve it, attach safety to the experience, and then I felt a release of that baggage. By doing these releasing trauma meditations, these exercises I learned in NLP. And immediately I felt better. Emotions came up. I started to cry more, started to feel a lot more pain, but the pain was temporary, the crying was temporary. And at the end of the pain and the crying was a release. Oh my God, I finally got that out. Oh, I feel lighter. And I started to sleep better. My body started to feel lighter. My mind wasn't targeting those emotional memories anymore because I resolved it, right? The reason why we hold on to those negative memories is because the unconscious mind is treating them like a threat that needs to be examined. How can we not walk into that same pothole again in the future? That's what my unconscious mind was telling me. So I had to bring it up and say, this is why I'm not going to walk into that same pothole again. This is what happened back then. And then because I resolved it and then I attached safety to it, it released me from the past, and I was no longer revisiting that memory. So that's why health anxiety is a blessing, because it forced me to look inwards towards myself and resolve these past crutches, baggages, ball and chains. And boy, did my life grow exponentially from there. The quality of my life grew. And another thing I want to add is health anxiety is a blessing because a health anxiety sufferer is sensitive over their health. And that's a good thing. It might not be a good thing now if you're suffering from it, but what your body is telling you is, hey, things aren't right here. Things need to be adjusted. Your lifestyle needs to be adjusted, right? And be honest with yourself. How's the quality of your lifestyle? Are things just too chaotic? Pay attention. How do you feel after you eat the meal you eat? Maybe it makes you feel sluggish, mentally sluggish, or it could make you feel tired, or looking towards your negative friends, your work life, your relationships, your sleep patterns. Look towards your lifestyle choices, because once you start to fix your routines, your rituals, then you start to see a shift in your physiology, because your adrenaline and cortisol is to the max. You're suffering from anxiety. Slow down and shift your patterns. What can you do to relax the body? Well, meditate. Well, yoga, walks in nature. It requires you to change those patterns. And so health anxiety is a blessing, because the quality of your life starts to improve once you sacrifice habits that only fuel anxiety, that are temporary crutches, and then you introduce habits that promote long-term benefits. Because those temporary crutches, like overspending, materialistic goods, or Googling your symptoms, or weed, alcohol, pornography, toxic relationships, sex, those are short-lived. And at the end of that short-lived lifespan, you're going to feel a big drop. And that negative side effect to not doing the substance makes you go, oh, I want to feel normal again. And then you go back to the substance to feel normal. But once you stop doing that one habit is a crutch, that is a coping strategy, well, it's hard at first, because you got to go down that slope of the relapse, not the relapse, but the hangover period, and then your body starts to adjust and it starts to feel better. But you have to go through that temporary pain to get the long-term benefits. So health anxiety requires you to sacrifice those little habits, those 1% changes, to add those positive 1% changes every day. And then you'll start to feel the quality of your life over a longer period of time improve immensely. So that short-term pain of that morning ritual could and will improve the quality of the rest of your day. So exercising in the morning, or meditating, or journaling, or taking that cold shower, there's reasons why people do those rituals. The last reason why health anxiety is a blessing: the quality of your relationships improve. Once you start to improve yourself, people will start to go, oh, look what Brad's doing. Look at how he feels when he's waking up at 5:30 in the morning and he's starting to take cold showers. He's looking pretty good. He's happier. He's emotionally stable. When Brad's getting 7 to 8 hours sleeps, he's more chipper, right? He's more grounded. He's talking more often. And so you start to change yourself. You'll start to attract different people, but also you'll be the example for other people. Yes, sometimes your family and friends will try and pull you back in to old ways. Right? Happens all the time. Happened to me. They'll try and pull you, saying, hey, you should probably don't do that. And you're going to feel like an outcast at one point. You're going to feel like, oh man, is this normal? Because everyone around me isn't doing this. You start to be the black sheep around the people around you. And that causes resistance because a lot of people don't want to change. Their ego goes, oh my God, resistance. That's not who I am. But stick to the path. Look towards your mentors. You can hang around those empowering people through YouTube, through podcasts, right? Using YouTube as a tool, right? I hung around my mentors, my role models on YouTube every single day. I was studying them like mad, learning from them like mad. I was starting to think like them and act like them because I was surrounding myself with them like mad. And so, over time, because I was so consistent and persistent, 5 months, a year later, people will go, I see why Brad's stuck with that. Look at the quality of his life. Sometimes that pushes people away, and that's a good thing, by the way, because why would you want those people in your life who wants to keep you stuck? And then second of all, it draws in different types of people who are like-minded like you, who are disciplined like you, who want to be pushed and challenged in life. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. That's why health anxiety is a blessing. Even if you don't see it right now, it is a blessing. And I am unbelievably grateful I went through the suffering I went through. Do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video or podcast. Bye for now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be one of the first to know. Namaste.